Hello and welcome to the Peru Channel podcast. I'm your host Philip, and today I'm going to continue the last episode by talking about common questions and topics that come up all the time about Machu Picchu. In the previous episode, I talked about guides, tickets, buses to the site, and the train companies that provide service to Machu Picchu. First, I want to start with one of the things that I keep seeing asked over and over and over on social media. It involves people asking about being able to take a taxi or a bus directly to Aguascalientes and Machu Picchu. Well, the fact is that's simply not possible. Coming from Ollantaytambo, the road actually ends at kilometer 82 on the railroad, while coming from the other direction, it ends at kilometer 122. The roads do not continue. Aguascalientes is located between those at kilometer 110, with the bridge up to Machu Picchu at kilometer 111. All the transportation at Aguascalientes is based there and goes back and forth to Machu Picchu. There's only one road in the whole place that you can take a vehicle on. And by the way, the kilometer number is how we mark locations along the railway. It's used a lot more than you probably would imagine. At the Hidroelectrica, if you're coming from that direction, it's possible to ride the twice-a-day train, but the cost for foreigners is $33 for the 45-minute route into Aguascalientes, and that's just one way. Almost everyone hikes in over the easy 11-kilometer hike, except for locals who pay no more than 6 soles or about $1.50. Another very common question is, what is the best time of year to visit Machu Picchu? To be honest, there really isn't a bad time to go, and this is coming from someone who's been every month of the year. People talk about the rainy season versus the dry season at Machu Picchu, but Machu Picchu itself is located in the upper jungle. It's called the rainforest for a reason, and that means it could rain at any time of the year, and to be honest, it does. Over the years, I haven't noticed much of a difference between the seasons, especially the past few years when the entire Cusco region has been under a pretty severe drought. The one advantage of the summer is that, and remember, summer here is November through February, is that the crowds are usually smaller and it's easier to get tickets. Though after the pandemic years and last year's social unrest, people seem to be coming back in large numbers. In fact, this morning I saw that the Cusco itself has reached this year about 97% of the tourism numbers that it had hit before the pandemic in March of 2020. The river below Machu Picchu during this time is likely to be a raging torrent thanks to rains in the higher mountains upriver. During the winter season, which is the dry season in the upper Cusco region from about May through October, the river flows slowly, beginning to lessen. In recent years, including this one, it's been low enough to easily walk across by November. This year, you could walk across on foot in August thanks to the long drought. Here's a little tip. Storms always come in from the east over the mountains that rise up directly up the canyon behind Aguascalientes. If you see dark clouds anywhere else, I guarantee they're not coming in your direction. This is one of the things that everyone knows here. It's funny to talk about the weather with someone who's a local, and if you talk about, well, is it going to rain? Everyone always looks in the same direction to see if there are dark clouds. That's how we tell. What about the best time of day to visit Machu Picchu? Well, that I can make some suggestions based on having gone every single time of the day. Early mornings are very popular. The sun comes up over the mountains about 20 minutes after the official sunrise time, so you can use this to determine when you should get there to get the typical postcard sunrise photo from the terraces above Machu Picchu. Keep in mind that it will take about 10 to 15 minutes to hike up from the entrance to that spot if you take the lower route, and another 10 minutes or so if you go to the upper viewpoints. Also remember that there is a very good chance that you're not even going to see a sunrise at all thanks to the clouds. In fact, there's a chance you won't even see Machu Picchu from up above due to heavy clouds and fog. The good thing is that it usually clears up, or at least opens up every once in a while to see the site below where you can before you go down into Machu Picchu itself. Absolutely the best recommendation I can give to anyone going to Aguascalientes is to combine 2 trips to Machu Picchu itself. one in the afternoon after you arrive, and another in the early morning after you spend the night there. It's easy to plan. You simply get a morning train on the first day that arrives around 11:30, eat lunch, then go up to Machu Picchu around 2 p.m. That gets you into the later times, so there's a little bit less chance of it being quite as crowded. You'll be back no later than 6 p.m. at the latest, giving you plenty of time to walk around Aguascalientes, eat some dinner, relax a little before going back up early at 6 or 7 a.m. the next morning. All the hotels are quite happy to store your luggage if you need to check out before you go up to Machu Picchu in the early morning. You can explore all you want and maybe have a ticket to climb either Huayna Picchu Mountain or the big La Montaña Machu Picchu Mountain with plenty of extra time to grab lunch before catching an afternoon train back to Cusco. Are there other little tips that you need to know about Machu Picchu? You bet. There's a lot of things that people wish they knew before, which would make a big difference in their trip. First of all, there are simply no restrooms within the site anywhere, so be sure you take care of business before going in. There are restrooms just below the entrance control that cost 2 soles or 50 cents US. Stepping off the trail inside the site to use a restroom will almost certainly result in being immediately removed for grossly disrespecting Machu Picchu. Keep in mind that the lines to get in the restrooms can be very long in the afternoons, and it could take a while. I've seen them stretch for probably 20, 30 meters. The same thing applies to the lines to get on a bus to go back down the mountain. It could take around 45 minutes or even longer standing in line in the afternoons before you actually get on a bus. By around 5 p.m., the lines are usually gone and you can immediately get on a waiting bus or wait no more than a few minutes. Keep this in mind because if you have a train to catch and you're counting on hopping on a bus for a 20-minute bus ride down, you may not have any chance of making it at all. Sadly, in the interest of making money, officials increase the capacity without increasing the number of buses available to take visitors back and forth. Things are a little more organized in the morning, but it can still take a while waiting in line to get on a bus to take you up to Machu Picchu. The earliest bus in the morning leaves around 5:20 or 5:25 a.m. for people who have a 6 o'clock ticket. I've heard people recommend getting in line no later than 4:30 a.m. if you want to be on the first bus. But even in the busy season this year, usually I'm there around 5 a.m. or maybe a few minutes before, and I'm always on the first bus. Sometimes people are going up to Machu Picchu early in the morning, and then they're going to hike back down the railway to the Hidroelectrica to catch a ride to Cusco. Well, if you have a big backpack and you don't want to go all the way back to Cusco to get it from their hotel where it's stored, and then walk all the way back to the bridge, and it adds about an extra kilometer or so. What you can do is you can leave your backpack at the storage place at the Machu Picchu control entrance itself. While they're not strict about measuring every bag, big backpacks are simply not allowed, and they will not let you in. They're limited to 40 by 35 by 20 centimeters, which is about 15.5 by 14 by 8 inches. That's about the size of a personal item stowed under the seat on an airplane. I've seen people go in with a little bit bigger bags, but if you try to go in with a full-size backpack, there's no way they're going to let you in. The cost to store is actually fairly cheap. It's only 5 soles or about $1.25 US to store your bag safely while you're there in Machu Picchu, and then you can get it again on your way out. I'm not sure if they'll let you take it on the bus, but if they do, and you're going to hike down the trail, you can ask them, in fact, be sure to ask them to stop and let you off at the bridge, because then you can just save yourself a lot of walking and head off down the railway route to the Hidroelectrica from there. Up near the control entrance, you can get food and snacks above at a little restaurant, but as you probably expect, prices are a little high. In fact, they're very high. Food and drinks are definitely not allowed inside Machu Picchu itself, but water seems to be okay, and I've even seen it recommended. Just keep your bottle in a small pack and you'll be fine. Make sure that it's water. Anything else, and they're likely to confiscate it. Be sure and stop at the restroom again before going back down, as a 20-minute bus ride could get a little long if you need to go. Things like drones are completely forbidden and will be confiscated. Selfie sticks are also not allowed, but usually they look the other way at the terrace spots above the main site where there's lots of room as long as you're respectful of others. Anywhere else will result in a loud whistle from a park ranger who will tell you to put it away. Most people just simply ask their guide or another person to take a picture. Trust me, everyone is always eager to help someone else capture that once-in-a-lifetime memory, so there's really no need to bother bringing a selfie stick. Also, stay on the paths and follow the routes. They won't let you go retrace your routes at all. One of the park rangers actually made a big deal a few months ago because I walked back only about 20 meters to get a photo. I reminded him that there was absolutely no one along the path for over 100 meters behind us that early in the morning, but he was enjoying bossing around a gringo, so I let it go. I talked with some of the other rangers that I knew, and they said he was not very popular with them, as most recognize that they're there to help whenever possible. Still, follow those directions no matter what, as almost all of the people who work there really do love their jobs, and they love Machu Picchu, and they love helping friendly and respectful tourists. On the other hand, trust me, they get very frustrated with tourists who don't respect the wonderful place that you're visiting. Sometimes people ask about, can I camp around Machu Picchu? And the answer is yes, it is definitely possible. There's a municipal campground next to the river just before the bus and pedestrian bridges that go up to Machu Picchu. There you can pitch your tent for the night for very little money. Unfortunately, I forgot to write down the cost, but to be honest, the price on the sign, if I remember, is likely not accurate anyway, and I've never seen anyone there to register you or take your money. There's another really good option that's about another 3 kilometers past the bridges down the railroad tracks. It's called Mondor. Used to be called Jardines de Mondor, or the Mondor Gardens, and the walk along the way is absolutely stunning. There's a restaurant with food and lots of snacks, including the best ice cream in the jungle. I always stop there and get their ice cream. The extensive gardens of Mondor are beautiful with luscious jungle plants and 2 really big waterfalls. Of course, it helps if there's been rain for the waterfalls to have a lot of water, but it's still beautiful no matter what. The place is full of history, including that's where the workers stayed during the building of Machu Picchu, and it'll probably take you at least an hour, probably 2 hours to explore. I don't remember the cost, but I know it's not much, and if you want to get a room there, you can also do that. I'm always getting questions about where to stay and where to eat in Aguascalientes. To be honest, most of the restaurants are really good and you won't be disappointed anywhere. But they can also be relatively expensive, and the servings are sometimes small compared to the places where locals eat. The best 2 places to eat that I prefer by far and where I always go are Amazonas and El Antojito. Both are located almost across from each other. I'm not sure if the street even has a name, but it's on the tourist side of the highest bridge in Aguascalientes. Trust me, you won't have any problems knowing where that is. You just simply climb up till you get to the 3rd bridge over the river that splits the middle of town, and Amazonas is right on the corner. El Antojito is just a little bit past. Both of these are really popular with locals and Peruvians, but for some reason, tourists hardly frequent either. I think part of that might be because a lot of tourists feel a little uncomfortable going into a place where they see only locals. That's a shame because the food in both is really good and the servings are really big for much cheaper prices. I prefer the milanesa de pollo, which is fried, thinly sliced breaded chicken breast at El Antojito, and the chaufa de pollo at Amazonas. Chaufa de pollo, it's an Asian-influenced rice with chicken dish that's immensely popular across Peru. In fact, if you're here in Peru at all, you probably are going to eat it at least once. The last time I ate at Amazonas, I also tried the rotisserie chicken called pollo a la brasa here, and to be honest, it was simply the best I've ever had anywhere in my life. As far as where I stay, I always stay at one of 2 places near the highest point of the village. Both are run by the same people, and I have to be honest in saying that the staff are all my friends. Hotel Retama Machu Picchu and Hotel Tara are both my favorites, and I stay at whichever one has a room available when I'm in town, but it's usually at Retama. They are immaculately clean and everything works, which isn't always the case in Peru. They're also pretty quiet too, and they have an extremely friendly staff who'll do whatever they can to make sure everything goes well for you. I've spent so much time in there talking with my friends, and I've watched them interact with guests, and I know that they really, really take customer service seriously. I've stayed at both of those hotels dozens of times over the years and wouldn't stay anywhere else. Besides the really friendly people who work there, one of the things that I like almost most of all is that they're next to the river, which provides a really nice, soothing background when it's time to go to sleep. Both Hotel Retama and Hotel Tara are on the left side of the river as you walk up. They're near the top, and it takes a little bit of effort and work, but I promise you it's always worth the extra effort, as I always have a comfortable room waiting and a hot shower there. You can find booking information for each on booking.com, and I'll post a little video in the show notes that I did for them a couple of years ago to give you an idea of what the rooms are like. One of the things that comes up all the time, especially during the busy season, is buying tickets to Machu Picchu. Sometimes the tickets to Machu Picchu require purchasing weeks or even months in advance, maybe as far as 2 months during the high season, despite the daily capacity being increased by 1,100 people a day from June 1st through mid-October. Because the routes were split and some new routes were added, you might be surprised at what tickets are available, especially for routes that are not as popular. It's now possible to visit the Inti Punku, for instance, and the Gran Caverna is what it's called now, after being closed for over 4 years. The Inti Punku is known as the Sun Gate, and it's where trekkers on the Inca Trail get their first views, weather permitting of course, of Machu Picchu from high up on the mountainside. The Gran Caverna showcases some of the most beautiful architecture of Machu Picchu, but the distance involved in getting there means it's got far less visitors. I made that trek in July for the first time. In fact, it was the last of all the routes that I had never actually taken, and it was spectacular. Very difficult, but breathtaking, and I will go back again soon. Getting tickets online is fairly easy at the official website, tuboleto.cultura.pe. Anything else is not official, and you're going to pay an extra commission for someone to actually just do what you can do. If you have trouble with Spanish, and it's not difficult at all, just use something like Google Translate to help you through. It's a pretty easy process. If you let an agency buy your tickets for you, they're going to get online and do the same thing, or they might go to the ticket office in town, but probably the first thing they'll do is get online. I'll put that link in the show notes so you can just go straight there to buy your tickets. If the date that you want tickets to Machu Picchu is not available and there's no time slots that you can work in, you really only have one other option. The only way that you can get a ticket for a sold-out date is to go to Aguascalientes the day before and purchase one of the 1,000 tickets that are set aside for the following day. As the process seems to be going smoother now, it's very likely that you'll be able to get what you want, unless you have a huge group, of course, but it does require spending a night in Aguascalientes before and maybe standing in line. One thing I noticed a couple of weeks ago was that even in the busy season at the end of August, the screens just outside the Cultural Center where you get those last-minute tickets were still showing a lot of tickets available, and there was no line even in the early evening. Of course, I don't know what specific times were available for those tickets, but the most popular routes available only in the morning still surprisingly had plenty of tickets left for the next day. I also don't know if that was a normal situation, but I was quite surprised that it was so easy to get a ticket even during that busy time. I've also been seeing people in Facebook groups responding to this question by telling people to contact them privately. First of all, there simply is no reason to do this unless they don't want to get caught trying to convince you to send them their money for tickets that they can't actually provide. Dishonest fake guides and agencies have long been a problem in Cusco. They pop up, make an offer and tell you they can solve your problem, and then they disappear whenever there is a problem after they've taken your money, and they just pop up later under another name for other people to get scammed. Sadly, they always seem to get away with this. There simply is no way to get a ticket except through the official channels. Someone else that says they can do it is lying. There used to be a big issue with corruption in not only apparently in the Cusco cultural office, but with some dishonest agencies and guides who were stealing a lot of money and a lot of tickets and reselling them illegally. That's been over with for about 9 months now. I hate seeing people get scammed like this, but it still happens because these same criminal agencies and guides still get on social media, especially on Facebook, and just plain lie. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you found something here of value. There's more on the show notes page where you can also leave comments, which are really appreciated. I'm almost finished with the next episode, which will be about the huge changes that took place on June 1st as far as the different routes that are available. So far, it's pretty long, and not only because I'm pretty long-winded, because there's a lot to talk about the 10 routes to choose from when you're making your plans to go to Machu Picchu. Except for those who work there, I really doubt there's another person in the world who's actually been on each of these routes. Curiously, by the way, I've seen some YouTube videos and some blog posts where other people talk about the routes, despite never having been on them. As always, thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope to see you in Peru soon.